Okay, folks, this is the video where you guys probably start to question my sanity. I spent some time, and I do mean some time, too much time, is what I mean by that, on a 32 team startup dynasty league auction style. I have some tips. If you guys want some auction tips, I will definitely help you out with that. Let's just go through our notes here first, and then I'll show you some of it here on the sleeper screen. First of all, we were asked to pick an NFL franchise. I picked the Saints, but that's really irrelevant to your roster. You're not necessarily having to pick any Saints. You don't get any Saints unless you pay for them. But I ended up being the Saints. My mom loves the Saints, so that's what I picked. The auction went for 30 hours. That was spread over 5 days, so pretty much 6 days, 6 hours per day over 5 days for a Monday through Friday, usually starting about 2 in the afternoon here in the mountains, which would have been 4 in the afternoon Eastern, and it stopped about 10 Eastern, which was about 8 o'clock here. Sometimes it went a little longer. I think there was at least one or two times where they had some 1 hour pauses in there, so it probably came out to about 30 hours. Number one, you guys, if you're doing auctions, you don't need longer than 30 seconds to offer a player. In fact, you can probably go with a little less, but 30 is a pretty good number. Gives everyone a chance to catch their breath if they need it. If people have their queue set, they can just let the 30 seconds run out and let the queue handle it, handle their nomination. I strongly recommend you do not have more than a 1 minute bid period. We had 5 minute bid periods. In fact, I kind of think at the start it might have been 10 minutes. It just seemed like it was forever. So whatever it was way too long. I think by day 3 they went down to 3 minutes, which was better, but still too long. And by the 5th day they went down to 1 minute, which was just about perfect. Now I can tell you the trade-off on that is if you've got 5-10 minutes, whatever, then you can tune out. You could just shut it down for an hour and not even bid on anybody and come back and you haven't really missed that much. It's like a Texas Hold'em game where you've got your stack and you want the other guys to kind of feed on each other for a while. So you just fold. You can just sit there and fold and fold and fold for a while. So if you're doing an auction draft, you should definitely do a minute or 30 seconds to nominate and a minute to bid, and that's it. No more. Maybe less. Less is a little bit frantic. So I just think 30 and 1 is just about the sweet spot. If you can't do it all in one night, I do think this league had it set pretty well in that, hey, you just do it as many nights as you need to do it until it's over. The problem is not everybody can tune in, right? Which again is not necessarily a bad thing. There are times when you want other teams to spend money. So, I don't know. In the end, there's a few things I would have done differently, that's for sure. I would highly recommend avoiding the chat. If you are in a sleeper auction, there is a chat room in the draft room, so it's not the same as the league chat. And there are people that are going to say things in there just to get you fired up, just to get you riled up. They're going to say things to get you off of a player that you might be on so they can go get them. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff going on in there. And they will just rag on you if they don't like what you're doing. It's interesting. The one thing that really bothered me the most, I guess, was I had one particular player who we might talk about that I wanted. It was late in the auction. And I figured I'd get him pretty cheap. I had a guy bid me up a lot. It was to like 60, I think it was. We had 1,000 to spend. And I had to pay 60 for this player, but I just decided I'd folded long enough and I was all in on this player. And of course he ended up not getting him. So he immediately goes to the chat and starts ragging on me for paying him too much. And in my mind, I'm like, dude, you were the one running it up, not me. I would have paid a lot less. But I tried to just stay out of it, just ignore it. Because what they're trying to do is get you to get upset and make mistakes or whatever. So, needless to say, stay out of the chat room. Look at your queue, look at the results, look at the players available, but don't even bother with the chat. If they tag you or something, you can go check that after the draft is paused or when it's over or whatever. But even then, it's probably not relevant. They're telling you not to bid on someone. They're telling you to run someone up. They're telling you a bunch of stuff that you don't even need to worry about. So avoid the chat. I will say I will never do a league like this again. This was a one and only. So I'm glad I'm in it, and I hope it lasts. But I will not be doing one like this. I am scheduled to do one this weekend that is a shorter window of time. It's going to be 30 seconds and 1 minute, and we're going to try to rip through it in one weekend, which I think is going to work a little better. I might get to the end of that one and decide I'm not doing that one either. But I don't plan on doing any more auction type leagues where you start from scratch. I do have a long time league that we've done where you have keepers, and it probably goes like 2 hours, 2.5 hours at the most, and that's okay. But if you're running it for 30 hours, it's too long. That's just a fact. So the first day, I sat out completely. I signed nobody. I think something like 40, 48 players went, something like that. I signed none of them. The second day, I signed 2 players. Somehow I ended up on auto bid, and I ended up with Derrick Henry for what I think was way too much. I would have preferred not to have him, but I ended up with him. So then I bid on Quinshon Judkins. Again, probably a little much, but I decided, you know what, if I got Henry, I'll take an old guy and a young guy. Another important tip. In my mind, I automatically had decided if I'm going to have Quinshon Judkins, I'm going to get Dylan Sampson, even if I have to overpay. And if I'm going to have Derrick Henry, I'm going to have Justice Hill, even if I have to overpay. So I do think the handcuff idea in auctions is a good strategy because it should automatically tier out your bidding. So, for example, if you end up with Mahomes and you pay for what, and I will show you what I paid for him, when you go and get Justin Fields, right, you should be able to pay less and next to nothing really. And when you go get Nussmeier, the rookie, you should get to pay a little bit, right? Maybe a little more than Fields. But if you go get Henry, you should be able to get Justice Hill cheaper. If you go get Judkins, you should get Dylan Sampson cheaper. So it tiers out your spending a little bit. So I do think the handcuff thing is not a bad thing. So 2 players on day 2. I signed 1 player on day 3, and I do think that was Mahomes. He was one of the last quarterbacks signed among the stars, if you will. And everyone was surprised that he was not signed yet when I nominated him. I signed 2 players on day 4, and I do think those were both receivers. I picked up Jaden Reed and I picked up Jordan Addison, and both of those I thought I got pretty cheap. And then I think I actually got a tight end as well. I think it was Ferguson or someone like that for pretty cheap. So 2 players on day 4, and then I signed the rest of my roster on day 5 right before they ended it. Like they were going to end the whole thing because they were tired of dealing with it, and people were signing for $1 anyway, so it didn't matter to them. But it did matter to me because I had my queue set like 20 deep, and I was ready to keep on nominating who I wanted. I had the most money. I ended up with $200 left that I didn't even need. Which probably means I should have spent up a little more on some other guys, but I didn't care. That's just the way it worked out. So that's really all the notes that I have here on this league. Let's look at the roster real quick. I think your approach to the waiver wire and to trades on a auction league should be different in that you had a shot at everybody. If there was someone you really, really wanted, then you should have went and got them. In my opinion, with your 1,000 that we have. And that's another thing. If you're going to do these leagues, don't do 1,000. Because when you get down to $1 bids, it goes on forever. Go with like 200. And that way, if people are bidding $1, it's a little more serious than if they've got 1,000 to spend. So just know that's definitely something you need to do as well. I ended up with Henry, Addison, Reed. I did get a Conquo I thought pretty cheap. Here's Judkins. And then I did not sign a defensive player until I had filled all my offense. And then I also had some offense on the bench. And people were asking me about, well, who are you going to sign? Well, here's who I ended up signing. Rookie. Zaven Collins, who I'm just a huge fan of, from the University of Tulsa, plays for Arizona. Pratt, who I've got in another league, and I know he's pretty good. Carley's, who I've kind of had on reserve in a couple of spots, and he's filled in kind of okay, I guess. Here's a rookie, Minka Fitzpatrick, who I couldn't believe he was still out there when he finally came up. Cooper DeJean, again, I couldn't believe he was out there. Winston, who every time I try and get this guy, somebody always wants him. I don't know what his deal is, but I ended up with him here. Here's a rookie, Parker. I ended up with Mac Jones. People criticize me for getting him because I don't have Purdy. It's a dynasty league. He's going to be starting somewhere someday. So I have Mac Jones. And then I picked up Rudolph, Rodgers, because they back up Will Howard, who I have later. I have Justice Hill and Sampson, who I said I would get. Got some pretty decent depth pieces here. I thought Tonjes was a great pickup. And then here's another rookie, Banks. I did move some people. They expanded the taxi, and so I have some waiver wire requests out there. I'm going to try to fill these bench spots with right here. But I did get Washington, Howard, Aller, who is also a Steeler quarterback. So I got Nussmeier, who's his chief. By the way, I put Justin Fields out for $1, and I told everyone in the chat, I'm only paying $1. And of course, somebody bid him up, and I said, he's yours. And they were like, no, you won't pay him $5 or whatever. I was like, no, I won't. And so anyway, I took a lot of heat for that, but I've got Mahomes and I've got Nussmeier. So I've got my Chiefs quarterbacks, I think, pretty much set. I've got all the Steeler quarterbacks. And then I actually picked up, like I said, Mac Jones and some other interesting projects, if you will. So here is my waiver wire. I actually plan on picking up Giddens. He's the backup in Indianapolis. Moss, who's a rookie running back in Miami. I love this quarterback for Philadelphia. I can't believe nobody picked him up. So I'm going to pick him up. He's a rookie. And then Sennett, the tight end behind Okonkwo. So that's my goal on the waiver wire here. I think that pretty much covers this league. Again, it's an auction league. So when people are offering me trades, when people are talking about waiver wire stuff, I'm not planning on cutting anybody because it's people I wanted. So that's pretty much the way I'm going to roll with this one. I'll touch base with you again. No rookie draft on this one. The rookies were just in with everybody else. So we just auctioned with the entire league. And like I said, we'll update you as time permits.